Hello, everyone. My name is Adam Williams, and you are listening and maybe even watching another episode of Retail Redeveloped. I'm very excited to be joined today by Wayne Lin. He's the co-founder of GetUpside. Now, this is a very, very interesting company, a very interesting concept, and I want Wayne to really kind of dig in and tell us what it's all about if you're not already familiar with it. It's very intriguing. It uses machine learning to try to figure out how to best personalize reward systems. It's very interesting, and Wayne is going to tell us all about it. Wayne, thank you so much for joining us today on Retail Redeveloped.
Great, Adam. Thank you so much for having me and GetUpside on the show. Really excited to spend the time with you today. So you want me to just start off and kind of explain GetUpside?
Yeah, I'd love that. But honestly, before we really dive into GetUpside, would you just walk us through kind of your background, how you ended up working on, something as interesting as GetUpside, and really talk a little bit about kind of the why behind your business and what kind of got you inspired to get into retail? I'd love to start there if that's all right. Sure.
So my background is mostly in technology and sales and marketing. If you kind of look at my personal career and then my co-founders and I and our respective paths, it's really come in those couple areas. So one is technology. The early part of my career, I actually started management consulting, working at a firm that focused on quantitative approaches to helping drive sales results. And so I did a ton of data modeling to then help basically salespeople sell better. And marketing teams market better. From there, I moved into Google, where I spent 5 years on the advertising side of the business, really seeing ground level how in the digital space, personalization and data-driven marketing techniques were really changing how well marketing could be done and how high performance it could be. And so that kind of put a thought into my head. From there, I then went to this other company called Opower, which is in the clean tech space. And Opower was really focused, similar theme here, which is data, but using data to change consumer behavior. And it was focused specifically around energy usage. So how do you get people to use less energy, which is good for the environment because it reduces carbon emissions, but also helps you save money. But really, people don't really care about energy. So how do you get people to pay attention to something that fundamentally don't care about and then change their behavior around it? Which goes right back to retail, right? Retail is about getting people to change their behavior and get the things they need in their life and discover new things that bring them joy in life. And so I spent 5 years or so at Opower changing consumer behavior around climate change, around energy use. And at the end of that period is when GetUpside started. And so myself, my co-founders, the CEO, which is Alex Kinnear, he's one of my co-founders. Alex and I actually go back all the way back to our Google days about 15 years ago, where we both saw the ground level of personalization, data-driven personalization on the internet, and how that changed fundamentally advertising. That's one part of Google's personalization. Basically, everything at Google's personalized, right? Not just the ads, but your search experience, et cetera, et cetera. And when we thought about starting GetUpside, really we went to, hey, if we're going to be building something and we're going to be spending our time doing something, how do we do something that's really meaningful for our communities? And we really wanted to do something that helps people, that's meaningful. We didn't want to just make another app that we would personally make a lot of money off of, but what didn't have a larger mission or meaning. And for us, that came down to communities, and today we describe it as helping our communities thrive. So how do we really build a system that helps communities, of which retail is the bedrock of our communities, right? It creates jobs, it creates places to go get the things you need. And then how do we connect that to consumers in a really smart way? And all of our experience changing consumer behavior, using data to drive personalization, that all kind of swirl together into what now is GetUpside, which is we are building the brick-and-mortar personalization layer for retail to basically take everything that exists online today and all the sophistication and technology there, and then bring it into the physical retail world. Because we know that e-commerce is applied a lot of pressure, which causes innovation and change into physical retail, right? And brick and mortar retail. And we want to help the brick and mortar side of it.
So explain to everyone how you guys are helping the brick and mortar side of it, because when I think of data-driven personalization, I immediately think of Google and Facebook and Instagram and how, I can be having a conversation about dirt bikes with my buddy, and all of a sudden I pick up Instagram and it's, 87 different ways to sell me dirt bike gear or something like that. But explain to everyone the impetus behind you guys trying to take that to brick and mortar and how exactly you guys are trying to accomplish that.
Yeah, the impetus from it really came from my co-founder, Alex. So the founding idea was stuck in his mind for a decade. So he saw this happening online back in our Google days. And then he would basically go home to his hometown. He's from Doylestown, Pennsylvania. It's a super cute little town outside of Philadelphia. And then he would basically walk around his main street, because that's kind of what you do in your town. And he would be like, wait, I just spent my entire day working, thinking about like all this really sophisticated technology that's driving amazing performance online. And then I walk into the coffee shop and I just get treated the same as everyone else. And then I walk into the restaurant and I get treated the same as everyone else. And my offline experience is basically the way it's been for a long time. And that was the core impetus of like, wait, but we have experiences in the world now showing us that there's better ways to do this, but it hasn't seemed to move into the brick and mortar world. And he loves his hometown. And I grew up in a town in central Jersey, kind of right outside Princeton. And Princeton has a beautiful downtown as well. And so I felt many of those same things. And so that was kind of the impetus of creating the company, which is like, hey, here's an opportunity here for us to do something that really can help physical communities. Instead of saying, hey, I just buy everything online. You're having a conversation with a friend about dirt bikes, and then suddenly you're seeing ads. And the next thing you know, instead of going to a local bike shop, talking to the bike guy there, getting rides and stuff, you're buying a brand online somewhere that's made somewhere else, right? And now that commerce is taken out of your local community. And it's great for the e-commerce person and the person behind that retail, the person there, but it's kind of taken out of your local community. And we wanted to do something that would really help our local spaces, because that's really what makes where you live great, right? When people talk about the areas they live and why they love it, it's the people they're around, right? It's your local community, but the people are there because the fabric of the community is so rich, and commerce is a large part of that fabric, right? The great coffee shops, the great little shops you go to buy your groceries, the restaurants you eat at, things like that.
So walk me through kind of the secret sauce. Like, what is it that you guys are trying? I get what you're trying to accomplish. It sounds amazing, and anything that is trying to empower the local coffee shop and give them some tools that the big boys have. You've got my interest. Like I'm listening. Like, tell me, what's the secret sauce? Let's get granular on. Well, no, wait, let me take that back. Let's not get granular, because I'm a dumb shit real estate guy, and you'll lose me if you start talking about the coding aspect of it. But let's talk about how exactly you guys are bringing this to Main Street.
Yeah. So the key insight in innovation in our business is really using a data stream that every Main Street business already has today, but they're not monetizing or using effectively to drive their business. And what that is the historical purchase data, the receipt. So
just the point of sale info.
The point of sale information, and even more accessible is the credit card processing information, right? So everyone accepts credit cards. Almost everyone accepts credit cards. Today, that's just a 2% tax on your commerce, right? You have to pay it for the network fees. But that data is really rich information about the purchasing patterns of your customers, right? And our core innovation is harnessing that data to then model out user activity at your store, right? And if you have great staff, you can do this. For your great staff or a great owner, it intuitively knows this, right? Like, hey, I know Wayne. Wayne comes in to my coffee shop 3 times a week. He always gets like a regular black coffee. That's his drink, right? The great staff knows that. But we all know how hard it is to get great staff that actually cares in retail, right? Mm-hmm. And so what we're doing is we're using data, specifically the credit card transaction and point of sale system data, to then match that to GetUpside users. So when a GetUpside user signs up for our app, they basically either can upload a receipt when they're making purchases, and through that receipt, you're required to use a credit or debit card, and through the receipt, we can read all the information off the receipt, and typically on it is your card type and last 4. And through that, we can match that to your transaction history, either coming from your POS or from your credit card processors. And once you match, you can say, hey, Wayne actually comes 3 times a week If we have POS data, it's Wayne comes through 3 times a week and buys black coffee. He never buys a pastry. That insight on every single one of your customers is hugely valuable, right? And then we can start doing what we do, which is say, hey, not only do we understand that, we now say, hey, Wayne comes 3 times a week. He comes pretty often. Adam's never been here. So cup of coffee, I have 90% margin on a cup of black coffee. Adam, I'll give you 75% off first cup of coffee. Come in here and try me out. And if you come in, I still made 15% net profit on that cup of coffee, right? Wayne, probably not going to get you to come in very much more to buy more coffee. Maybe you want a pastry though. So, hey, Wayne, my pastry margin is 60%. I'll give you a 30% off pastry if you want to come in and pick up a pastry sometime, right? And so this is how we're different because one, we're now able to personalize because we know the history of everyone. So we can say, hey, Adam, you got a cup of coffee at a huge discount. Wayne, you got something on pastries to upsell you. But by the way, both of these were inside the margin of what's available versus if you think about a lot of other programs out there, they typically don't have 2 things. One, they don't have intelligence on the customer. And 2, they don't know your margins and they don't work with you to figure out your margins. So they're just blindly discounting large amounts of money to everyone. And when you do that, that's cannibalization, right? If I got a 75% off a cup of coffee, that would be cannibalizing for Wayne because, I come in 3 times a week and I pay full price. So why? But sure, if you want to give me 75% off, I'll take it, right? So you need to make sure not to give me that offer, but to give it to you, Adam. And for me, you need to know for me, what else might bring me value in life? Maybe it's a pastry, right? So that's the core of what we're doing here. And to our knowledge, we've been at this for 4 years now. We don't see anyone else doing it to this level of sophistication. Yeah.
So walk me through. So I get now a little bit about, how it works for Wayne. Walk me through how it works for, Joe Mug Coffee Shop. How do they sign up for you guys? Is it a percentage of sale kind of program, or is it just a, $50 a month to be on you guys' system? Like, how do you go and get the merchants excited about it and get them signed up?
So our pricing model is developed where the big thing we say a lot inside our company is we try to build the platform and GetUpside to be a win-win for everyone. So there's been lots of programs out there that in the local space, right, in the retail space, lots of tech companies. Even before tech companies, there's there's couponing. The history here is very, very deep, right? This is not a new area we're talking about. But what we're trying to do on the business model side is we want to link our results directly to merchant success and to retail success. So in the history of programs in here, there's many that have said, hey, well, I'll just take a percentage of sales. Or if anything, hey, I'm really on the side of on the consumer. So, you're going to give me a huge discount, and then of the remaining amount, I'm going to take a huge percentage of that as my share, and that's because I'm going to bring you tons of traffic. But is that good traffic? Is it bad traffic? You figure that out. But I'm really on the side of the merchant, and I have all these consumers, and I have all these consumers behind me, right? Or you have other programs that say, hey, I'm on your side, so I'll build a platform or whatever you want to do, and it's infinitely customizable and it's for you. And so when you do that, then as a merchant, you just mostly think about yourself, right? So you end up giving pretty small amounts of money because you might not have the data sophistication. So you play the averages. And then it's not compelling to consumers. So there's a mismatch there. We put ourselves in the middle where we're trying to bridge that's what commerce is, right? Commerce is an agreement between a buyer and a seller on something of value, right? And we're trying to bridge that through technology. To your question on the merchant side, what do we do is we then say our fees is a profit share. So the cost of GetUpside is whatever the promotion is that we give to the consumer. So, you put your coffee shop on the platform, you now are listed in the GetUpside app. We also have platform partners. So we have several other apps where we display our offers in. And so you put yourself on the platform, you're displayed to all these across all these different apps, including ours. We reach about 25 million monthly users. And then what we do is we give a promotion, and if the consumer accepts that promotion, you as the merchant pay that promotion, and then the remaining, and then off of that, we work with you to figure out your gross margins, and whatever is left over after the promotion, that's profit, and the profit we share on a profit share. So when we design it that way, our business model is fully aligned with you as the merchant, because if we give away too much promotion, there's no profit. Therefore, the profit share, we don't make money. Like you don't make very much money, but also we don't make money. So, capitalism, we're all we're all self-motivated. So it's in our interest to give just enough to get the consumer to come buy with you, to leave as much profit as possible so that we can then share that profit together. So then our interests are fully aligned.
So how were you able to scale this? Because that sounds, if you're getting into somebody's point of sale system and somebody's credit card data, and obviously that's probably fairly straightforward to do it if you're concentrating on one neighborhood, but how many merchants do you guys have? Like, how big is your footprint? City, state, coast. Walk me through that, and then walk me through some of the challenges with scaling, because it seems like my brain is going through all the different ways and all the different promotions and all the different minutia, because the coffee shop's different than the dress shop's different than the shoe shop. Like, how have you guys managed to scale that, and how have you done it? Like, walk me through how big your footprint is now and how big you want it to be.
Yeah, so I'll talk about footprint first, and I'll talk about how we got there and how we did it. So our footprint today is we just passed 20,000 merchant locations on our platform.
Wow.
We operated.
Congratulations. That's awesome.
We were 10,000 a year ago. So in the last 12 months, we've added 10,000 additional locations on the platform. We're powering about $1 billion of commerce a year is running through the platform at this point. That's grown probably 4x in the last 12 months. And we operate essentially nationwide. I think there's 3 states we're not live in, which might be North Dakota and 2 others. But we're basically nationwide.
And you're missing all the big money up in North Dakota. Come on, man, you got to get up there.
I mean, we have Hawaii and Alaska, so even those states are on there. And so we've been very, very fortunate. It's been a lot of hard work, but we've also gotten some nice breaks in terms of getting the company to where it's at now. In terms of how we do it, this is why fundamentally this is a software and large data problem, right? Because to do this on, as I'm describing these examples on a single person basis, you can see how you would do it, right? Even for a single coffee shop, I could probably go download my receipt logs. I could go match up, when you come in, I could probably match up you to my history. Like, I could do it for a single location. But the question is that how do you do it for 20,000 locations? How do you get all that data? What are the algorithms that are running to do this pricing at mass scale? That's where the hard part comes in. And that's where, the DNA of our company is software engineers and product managers. So myself and Alex were product managers, and product managers are basically, it's a tech term, it's a tech title that basically it's a business and technology integrated role where you think about, hey, what's the business problem I'm trying to solve? And then how do I apply technology into it? And Alex, the CEO, and I, our background is primarily in product development. And then the other founding members of our team, we're basically the best engineers we've ever worked with in our careers. And we've worked in some pretty good places. So we've run across a number of very, very talented engineers. And so that's the core of it. It's to do it at scale, you have to use software to do it. And we are touching a ton of transaction data. By the way, it's not sensitive transaction data. So when I say a ton of data, it sounds scary. It's not actually that scary, because if I go on a tangent for a second, because the core data we're touching is anonymized credit card transaction data. Because in these point of sale systems and in the credit card processing systems, they don't show you the full credit card number, right? That would be a huge security risk. You see the first 6 digits, which is the issuing bank and the card type and stuff like that, and the last 4 digits, which is just a random number. There's tens of millions of those combinations. So it's not personally identifiable.
Right.
But that said, it's unique enough for a coffee shop, because a coffee shop doesn't have 10 million customers. For a single coffee shop, it's basically unique. So it's essentially like an online cookie for us. And cookies are also they are anonymous, right? You can't tell who a person is from an online cookie. And so we're touching a relatively safe data set, but through looking at the data at scale and through statistics, you can then start finding patterns through it. And that's kind of how we do what we do to get us where we are today.
So how has your business changed with COVID? Did you guys just see it? Obviously, in-person retail fell off a cliff. Did your upticks, did your new users, did your saturation just completely flatline, and now you're creeping back up, that now that people are leaving the house a little bit more, or have you guys figured out a way to shift to a little bit more of an e-commerce centric model, because through to-go food and other things? Walk me through how your last 6 months has been, other than stressful like everybody else's.
6 months has been stressful. That said, we've been very fortunate. We've done well through this period. We went in probably like every company in the world, not knowing what was in store for us, battening down the hatches and getting ready to ride out a really rough storm. We made through it. We successfully rode through it, and now we're operating our company with the mindset of COVID's not going away. It's not going away anytime soon. So really, it's how do we adapt and operate and continue to grow in this world. That said, we have a number of things going for us, which is we operate in today. Actually, you asked this a little bit earlier, and I realized I didn't say this. Today, we operate in 3 categories: restaurants, groceries, and fuel, gas stations, convenience stores, things like that. And so we focus specifically on everyday purchase categories. So it's the stuff you need in your everyday life. And we do that purposely. Because also to your point, like, it's incredibly complicated. A coffee shop is different than a sushi restaurant, which is different than a barber shop, right? And we totally recognize that. Our platform is built to be generalizable across every category of retail, but we specifically pick subcategories one at a time to go in and deeply understand, so that when we work with that industry, we actually understand your business and we can actually really help you, versus like, hey, we have a generalized platform that may kind of fit, but not really. So that's one. So today it's 3 categories: restaurants, groceries, fuel, gas. And so in those areas, people need it, right? Even when we ended lockdown, yeah, we did see a huge hit. The gasoline sales dropped 50 to 60% in places things were locked down. Restaurant sales dropped 80 to 90%. Grocery sales went up because people still need to eat, right? So thankfully, we have some resilience in our different categories. And as lockdowns have ended, there was still essential traffic workers, right? So people still need to get around. So fuel still helped us hold our way through this, because people need to get around. And in the period we're at now, COVID it's made our mission and our purpose even more clarifying and important to us, right? Because first is which we can't help with, which is we need to find a solution to COVID, right? We need to have a virus. We need to think about.
Man, you guys are smart, man. Get on that. Help us out here. Let's get this COVID thing knocked out, please.
Yeah, we're not doctors, and I know nothing about genetic engineering, vaccines. But so that's step one, right? We need to get over that. But along with that is tremendous economic damage from that. So then that goes to step 2, which is many of us personally are feeling it in our lives, right? People are taking pay cuts. People have lost their jobs. Money is tighter than ever. That's only going to probably continue while we still haven't figured out how to really control COVID, because it'll spike, things will lock down, right? That's part 1. Part 2 is then the bedrock of our communities, the commerce that's there. Huge devastation there as well. Same economic damage, right? So our purpose is even stronger now. Like, our focus, we're not moving to e-commerce. Our focus is we are needed more than ever in our local communities to help the businesses there reestablish their businesses coming out of COVID, right? Coming out of COVID, you're going to need to find your customers again, convince them to come back to you, right? And for consumers, wallets are really tight. So anything we can do to help you gain more purchasing power, I think now is even more needed.
So everything that we hear, I say my team has heard over the last 6 months, is that we've been seeing a massive acceleration in retail change, adoption, online adoption, things like that. And that every trend that was already happening has been accelerated 3 to 5 years. Just in the last 6 months. Have you seen that in your business? And then how do people kind of put the pieces back together from that grassroots brick and mortar type situation?
Yeah, for sure. We've definitely seen it. I'll talk macro level and micro level. I'll talk on both ends. So micro level, I'm involved with some of the local business in my neighborhood, helping support them, helping incubate them, things like that. And, like talking to a local grocer or a butcher shop that's about to open up. When we first started, the owner there, he was like, yeah, online ordering and, delivery, like, nah, we'll get to it. Tech's not really my thing. I really want to provide amazing meats to this local neighborhood. And we're going to source amazing meat. And I was like, hey, I'd love to have a great butcher shop in my neighborhood. I'm in. I talked to him a week or two ago and he's like, yeah, I figured out that online ordering thing. We're going to do it. Right.
Yeah, so that just, I've heard that. I've heard 25 versions of that same story. Exactly. People that were back burner and that stuff, and now it's front burner.
And he also owns a coffee shop in our neighborhood that's amazingly successful. And same thing. He's like, yeah, actually, we're doing better now in COVID because our mix changed. Like, we do a lot of online ordering. I do a lot of takeout. I figured out how to make cocktails that you take away. Like, they have a whole bunch of stuff that they do and they've adapted. So on a micro level, definitely people are shifting. On a macro level, you see it as well, right? All the industry trends are pointing to increased acceleration of delivery, increased acceleration of online ordering and pickup, right? All these. So then it's pushing pressure on, in our segments, right? Gas, groceries, restaurants, adaptation and integration of those technologies. But I think now the big question, and this is where GetUpside comes back in and we can help, is the big question becomes, is that really good for me? Because grocery delivery, right? Am I going to partner with Instacart? Well, that actually just cuts into my margins. So is it incremental? Does Instacart help drive incremental profit to me that I wasn't earning? Or am I just basically getting taxed more now on delivering a service, right? Or, hey, I'm a restaurant. Do I sign up for Uber Eats? It's 30% of ticket sales. Is that incremental?
And let's be honest. I mean, the number of times my wife loves Instacart, right? We do Instacart on groceries. I've never once had an order that was 100% right? And you're just like, oh yeah, I ordered limes, not lemons, but okay, whatever. We'll make do.
Yeah. And I got 17 pounds of bananas.
Right. And, I'm super, nerdy about, like, I love, everybody can make fun of me into this now. I love oat milk. And that's because of my local coffee shop Undercurrent. Todd turned me on to oat milk. And now that's what I have. Good luck getting oat milk if you use Instacart. And I know that's a silly example, but everybody has their thing, right? Everybody has, the avocado that it has to be the right way or whatever. And the more the experience is everything in a local retailer and a brick and mortar retailer, the more that matters, right? Everything that I hear, I get the luxury to talk to some really, really intelligent people about retail every single week, and experience was already everything. And now it's the only thing. So I'd love to hear how you think you guys are adding to that experience, and how else you would coach your local incubator type users to really double down on experience, to get people off the freaking computer screen.
Yeah. So experience. So for me, I think about experience in a couple of different ways. Experience, what's behind experience is, and what drives people to say what a great experience is we go back to this fundamental, commerce is the exchange of money for goods and services, right? And so there is a price point in which you think, which the experience is amazing, right? Because people love going to McDonald's. No one would say the experience is great, but at the price point, right, you know what you're getting into and you know what you're going for. And you know what a great McDonald's experience is, and it's nowhere near a great restaurant experience, we've all been to great McDonald's and terrible McDonald's, right? Oh, the fries are so fresh, right? And so for us, the first stage is, and this is where we're at with our company today, and then where we're going in the future will help with the later stages. So the first stage for me is finding the right price to value experience trade-off, right? And so and what we're doing is we're essentially developing personalized pricing at GetUpside. So it comes in the format of a rebate or a discount, but really what it is discovering, hey, what's the right price point that makes you love this place and want to keep coming back? And we all have the margin to play with it, right? You set your margin because you can't do personalized price. You set your gross margins and your prices in a way so that the averages work out and that you make money. But we are developing for Wayne, what's the right price point to get Wayne in here? For Adam, what's the right price point for Adam? And if you can do that as stage one, yes, you should always work on up-leveling experience and offering better value and all that stuff. But matching the right price point to your current experience is step one. And that's what we do today. Because we offer personalized promotions to find your personal price to bridge commerce between you and your customers, you as a merchant. Where we're going with this is then to start moving from today, we operate at a basket level. So we're about total basket size. So from here, we're moving to items. So then how do we offer promotions on items? And when you move to items, then you can start providing recommendations. And then all of the Amazon stuff kicks in, right? Like, hey, you bought a oat latte. What's great paired with an oat latte is the cherry Danish, right? Like those pairings, and then applying personalized price to those pairings. That's stage 2. And then stage 3 is the intangibles, which is, and this is where we're moving towards, which is Wayne walks in to your coffee shop, and hey, your regular staff, they might not care enough to recognize Wayne, but we can tell you, hey, Wayne's here. You're testing out a new drink. Give Wayne a taste, because he's a regular. He comes 3 times a week. Actually, this is a frustration point. There was a great coffee shop down the street from me that's now closed. A Starbucks opened up like 3 doors down from it. But the owner there, I went in there all the time and he never said anything to me. And I'm also a huge local reviewer. So I'm like Yelp Elite and whatever. And I write all these reviews, and he's even responded to me online, and he never said hi to me in person. And I was just like, dude, I'm here all the time. I spend so much money with you. Like, can you just say hi? Right? So the third part is experiences. So how can we help use data and personalization to say, hey, I can't say hi to every single person, or I can't give this like drink taste to everyone, but who are the right consumers, who are the right customers of yours to like give this elevated experience to?
So I would love to hear a couple things. One, I'd like to, since you're a data guy, I'd love to get your take on this. I've heard it said that you have kind of 2 different massive silos of data, right? You've got the Facebook silo. I guess Google would be in this same silo, which is they know kind of who you are, right? Like they know, Facebook knows that you might scroll down a little slower when your ex-girlfriend is in your feed, or they know that like, you know, I spend way too much time looking at you know, cars and dirt bikes and other things that can kill me. And you've got on the other silo, you've got Amazon, right? That knows what you buy. You know, they know everything about what you buy, and they're trying to crack the code of everything that you want to buy, but you haven't, or how do we get you to buy something twice a week instead of once a week? And that the next big leap will be the group that figures out how to combine those 2 silos of data into one centralized point. Have you heard that? Do you have any opinions on it?
Yeah, I think that framework makes a lot of sense. That combination is kind of the holy grail. I think with that combination, there come a lot of questions. Even today with these kind of 2 silos, there's already a lot of questions from consumers on, do I really want my data used that way? Data
privacy, yeah. It's a powerful tool.
Yeah, it's a powerful tool. And at Google, we had a saying often, right? Like ads are not intrusive if they're valuable to you. So if we know enough about you and we show you the right ad, then it's information and it's valuable. It's not annoying. But I think today, that was 15 years ago. It was a long time ago. Today, we as a society are more sophisticated, and there are real questions on, do we want that much to be known about us? Am I comfortable with that? Am I actually back to my value to the value exchange? Am I comfortable with the value exchange here of my data being used this way to monetize me, right? And so I think it's for sure, and whoever solves that middle path, if actually, and now governments are starting to wake up to it, right? There's a bunch of hearings today here in DC, where I'm based, by all the tech leaders, by the big 4 tech leaders in front of Congress, right? I think it's fundamentally around this question. So will governments allow it to happen? Do we as a society want our governments to enable this to happen? So if it happens and it goes that way, great. I think there's a ton of value that can be developed in there. But even before we get there, and maybe wrapping it back to GetUpside a little bit, is GetUpside, we're primarily on the commerce side. We don't know who you are. Actually, when you sign up for our app, we don't even ask for your name. You can sign up with an anonymous email if you wanted, right? We don't want to know, and we actually set our data privacy. We basically try to get the minimum amount needed to get you a great commerce experience. So we don't ask for stuff we don't need. We operate on the good side of that equation you talked about, and I think there's a tremendous amount of value still to be gained there. And for us, I think our unique point is, we're not harvesting your data like Facebook is to then resell to an advertiser, where the advertiser pays Facebook and you don't get anything out of it other than more ads on your screen. you're agreeing to work with GetUpside to basically say, hey, I'm a consumer. My business is really valuable. All the business in my neighborhood, who wants my business? Make me your best offer, right? So we are helping the consumer monetize their own data for their own gain. And then when the merchant gains and there's profit, we share that profit with the merchant, right? So we like where our business sits today in kind of this broader sphere of how do we think about and relate to data. But I think what you're saying makes a lot of sense. And if someone solves that middle grand unification,
big bucks.
That company or group or whoever it is will do well if we as a society want that to happen.
So Wayne, you've already been extremely generous with your time. I want you to tell people how they can interact with you, with your company, how they can find out more. Just explain to people where they can find out more information and connect with you.
Sure. So for me directly, I think the best is probably I'm on both Twitter and LinkedIn. So on LinkedIn, you can find me Wayne Lin, GetUpside. If you search for that, you'll find me. Shoot me a message. Twitter, I'm Wayne, WANE 1024. Drop the Y because it was taken. So you can find me WANE 1024. If you message me there, I'll respond. And for our general company, the website is getupside.com. That's probably the best way to find us online. If you're a merchant, we'd love to work with you. You can also email business@GetUpside if you're a retailer that would love to learn more, and a member of our team will reach out and talk more, or just reach out to me directly, and I'd love to kind of go deeper with anyone that's interested.
All right, I want to finish up with a couple like quick knee-jerk kind of questions.
Yep.
I know you're in grocery, fuel, F&B. What's kind of another dream vertical that you think that you guys can be really effective on, even if it's not today? Like what's something you guys have your eye on?
Yeah, we've been thinking about it. Actually, we're starting to think about the next couple categories. So for us, our mission is to start with to be as useful to consumers as possible. And bridge those commerce connections. So it's about everyday needs. And so the next couple for us that we're thinking that we're exploring are things like drugstores, especially now, right? Like helping people with health. So drugstores, personal kind of grooming is another area that's interesting to us. So hair salons, barbershops, nail salons, things like that. And then there's a lot of ancillary car services, right? We all do need to get around in our everyday lives to get to our jobs. And so those are probably the big three we're thinking about right now.
Who else is doing something novel that has you impressed? And this can be, another app that you like, somebody that's being really smart with data. This can even be, a retailer that is doing a great job at delivering an excellent customer experience. I'll give you a little bit of wiggle room.
Yeah, good question. You caught me on this one. I'm so focused on our own startup day to day that I was like, oh my God, I don't have one immediately off the top of my mind.
That and a toddler, yeah, that'll keep you. That'll soak up a lot of attention.
Yeah, I have one. I really admire kind of like the newer in the restaurant space. A lot of the newer brands and concepts that are coming out to me are really interesting because they are, it's kind of like a lot of the digital clothing brands coming out, which is they're doing a lot of really interesting things. One, the trend of food is shifting, right? So it's shifting to a fresher,
fresh, healthy, fast casual, a lot to go. Yeah.
Sweetgreen, right? Sweetgreen, I think for me is an amazing company because one, their product is very healthy. It's helping us all live a healthier lifestyle. And then secondly, their technology is great. They think a lot about a holistic experience from their app and they think about it as an experience, not a set of technologies that I'm plugging in, but as an experience. So for example, our company is based in a WeWork office. There's a Sweetgreen outpost now, and the app connects to the outpost. So now every day at 11:30, I just hit a button. My salad shows up at noon. I go get it if I'm on a busy day, and I can eat healthy every day. Right. But at that same point, they're not sitting back. They continue to iterate on their core product. Like they constantly release new salads that are new and different because sure, I like salad, but I don't want to eat the same one every day. So really admiring these kind of tech infused restaurant concepts that are coming out now.
Last question. Obviously, I'm sure you have a lot of scar tissue and memories about being a tech startup where you're trying to explain to people how awesome your service is. And now I'm sure you have people that come to you. Tell me the biggest thing that has changed going from a nobody startup to having millions of users. And then tell me kind of the hardest lesson that you guys had to learn while you're coming up.
Yeah. I think the biggest change is when we started this, we started in fuel or gas, where none of us have any connection to gas. So we did it because it's an everyday purchase category that many, many people need. So the beginning stages of the company was me, my co-founders, I just would drive into random gas stations in the DC area, knock on bulletproof glass, and try to get someone to talk to me. And
so glamorous, man. You tech guys are so glamorous.
Yeah. And literally Alex and I, we would, in the morning, we'd look at each other in the eyes and be like, we are not coming back until one of us gets a close, and we just go do it. And I have so much, my background's not in sales. And so I have so much respect for people that go, that are in the sales side of building businesses. Cause I tried, I'm not a natural at it. And so the biggest change is to go from, for me is, that was a foundation of business. It was great though, because it forced us to really learn the pains and the needs of a single retail location, right? Because you don't get that when you're just developing something in a lab somewhere on high, right? So I'm glad we did it, but the scar tissue and brain damage from doing that and fighting through all of those very, very early relationships. Just these days, it's different. These days in fuel, our conversations are with BP, Shell, Phillips 66, Valero. Like we have conversations with Fortune 50 multinational companies, and that's the style of conversations. And so it's dramatically changed. The style of it is very different. So that's probably the biggest change I've noticed. Hardest lesson or most expensive lesson you had to learn as you were getting this thing off the ground? Yeah. Hardest lesson, I would say, I think it's maybe not a lesson, but it's just something to take with you, which is it's starting something from scratch is the hardest. It's the most rewarding. It's like having a kid. It's the hardest thing you'll ever do. And it's also the most rewarding thing you'll ever do. And it's just about staying humble and trying to do your best every day. There's no shortcuts. There's no secret magic. It's just putting your head down, putting in the work every day to try to be the best you can be, to try to do your best. And if you do that and you work hard, then on the kid side, you'll raise a great kid. On the business side, then you just have to get lucky. And if you catch luck enough times, then you can end up making it through that. And so I think that's what it is, right? It's not like we're not smarter than other people. We're not, we're willing to put in the work, and we're willing to learn and stay humble about that. And that's the lesson. And that's also what we strive to not lose as we get bigger, right? That's great. Wayne Lin, co-founder of GetUpside. Thank you so much for taking time and chatting with us, explaining what you do, why you do it. I love anybody that's trying to figure out a way to give some extra advantages to smaller brick and mortar guys. Can't wait to see how you guys keep growing and keep rocking and rolling. Wayne, thank you so much for joining me today. Awesome. Adam, thank you so much.